There comes a time when the world outside feels too loud, too heavy, too convincing. Its noise tries to drown out the truth you already carry, whispering that wisdom belongs to experts, to systems, to structures outside of you. Yet beneath that noise, there is another voice, softer, quieter, older than fear. It does not shout for your attention. It waits, patient, clear, certain. This is the voice within. We were born knowing this voice. As children, we leaned into it effortlessly. We knew when someone was safe, when something felt off, when joy was calling. We followed the pull of instinct without hesitation because it was still unclouded by fear. But as we grew, fear wrapped itself around us like a heavy cloak. It told us not to trust that inner compass. It told us to hand over our power to those who appeared more certain, more qualified, more in control. And so for many, the voice within grew faint, not because it disappeared, but because it was buried beneath the weight of doubt, expectation, and survival. Yet the truth never leaves. It only waits. It waits for the moment you remember that intuition is not a special gift reserved for a chosen few. It is not rare, nor is it fragile. It is your birthright. It is your natural state. Intuition is the language of your soul, speaking in real time. It is the bridge between your human self and your higher self. It is the way Source communicates directly, bypassing the noise of the world, bypassing the illusions of fear. This audiobook is not here to teach you how to acquire intuition, because you cannot gain what you already are. It is here to remind you, to help you clear away the voices that masquerade as truth, but are rooted in fear. To show you how to recognize the calm certainty of inner knowing and to trust it again. The first thing to remember is that intuition feels different from fear. Fear is loud, urgent, contracting. It grips the chest, quickens the mind, and demands action. Intuition is quiet, steady, and expansive. Even when it warns, it does so with calm clarity, never with panic. One makes you feel smaller. The other reminds you that you are vast. Think of intuition as a river that has always been flowing through you. Fear throws stones into that river, creating ripples and distractions. But underneath, the current is unchanged. The work is not to force intuition to appear, but to clear the stones, to return to the natural flow that was always present. Many people ask, but how can I trust my intuition when I've been wrong before? What they call intuition was often fear disguised as inner guidance. Fear can mimic the voice of intuition so well that it convinces us to believe it. But there is a way to tell them apart. Fear scrambles. Intuition settles. Fear leaves you restless. Intuition leaves you assured, even if the path it points to is challenging. As you listen to these words, know this: your intuition is already alive in you right now. You do not need to wait for it to awaken. You only need to notice what has always been there. Perhaps you have ignored it. Perhaps you have silenced it. Perhaps you have mistaken it for imagination. Still, it has never abandoned you. In the moments of your life when you knew without knowing how you knew, when you sensed the phone was about to ring, when you felt drawn to go a certain way home, when you knew someone's words were false even as they smiled. Those were not accidents. That was intuition breaking through the noise. That was the voice within. Now, imagine what your life could feel like if that voice was not an occasional interruption, but your constant guide. Imagine the peace of moving with certainty, not because you know every outcome, but because you trust the compass inside you. Imagine living so in tune with your inner guidance that fear no longer dictates your choices. This is not only possible, it is natural. But here is the paradox. The more you chase intuition, the more it slips away. Intuition cannot be forced because it is not a performance. It arrives in stillness. It rises when you are open, not when you are desperate. It is like holding out your hand for a butterfly. If you close your fist, it will never land. If you open your palm, it may choose to rest there. So the invitation is not to try harder. The invitation is to soften, to listen, to trust the subtle. In a world addicted to noise and proof, subtlety has become undervalued. Yet intuition lives in the subtle. It is in the quiet nudge, the brief whisper, the gentle knowing that arises before thought. That is why it is so easily overlooked, but also why it is so pure. As you move deeper into these words, I want you to know that intuition is not about being right in the eyes of others. It is about being aligned in your own soul. Others may question you, others may doubt you, but intuition was never meant to convince the world. It was meant to guide you, to bring you back into rhythm with yourself, with source, with the greater field of life that is always conspiring in your favor. This remembering does not happen all at once. It is a slow unveiling, a return. The mind will resist because it has been trained to demand evidence. But your body already knows the truth. Your body feels when intuition is speaking. The subtle expansion in your chest, the lightness in your breath, the quiet ease that follows the whisper. Trust these sensations. They are the signatures of truth. As you listen, I invite you not only to understand with the mind, but to feel with the heart. Notice what stirs within you. Notice what feels like recognition rather than new information. Because intuition is not about learning, it is about remembering. Each word is simply a mirror, reflecting back the knowing you already carry. And so we begin. This is the path of listening again to what has always been speaking. This is the path of releasing the counterfeit voices of fear and wishful thinking, so the true voice of the soul can guide you clearly. This is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you already are. You are not broken. You are not disconnected. You are not without guidance. You are whole. You are connected. You are guided. And the voice within has been waiting for you to remember. Let us walk this path together, slowly, gently, deeply. And as we do, may you come to trust that the guidance you seek has always been closer than your next breath. Chapter 1. The language of intuition. Fear is smart. It does not always arrive roaring, with sharp teeth and obvious threats. More often it disguises itself as caution, as reason, even as concern for your safety. It pretends to be your protector, whispering warnings in your ear. Yet beneath its disguises, fear is still fear, and its goal is always the same: to shrink you, to hold you back, to keep you small. Intuition, by contrast, has no need to disguise itself. It has nothing to prove, no agenda to push. It simply speaks, a calm nudge, a gentle knowing, a soft, steady voice that does not compete with noise, but invites you to listen beyond it. One is born of survival, the other of alignment. One tightens, the other opens. One drains, the other restores. For many, fear has been rehearsed louder than intuition. From the moment we are children, we are taught to doubt what we feel and to obey what we are told. We sense when someone's words do not match their energy, but we are told to respect authority. We feel the urge to create, but we are told to be realistic. We know when a situation is wrong for us, but we are told to be polite, to stay, to endure. Over time, the voice of fear gains volume, while the voice of intuition feels drowned out. Yet it is never destroyed. Think back to a time when you felt something in your bones, when you knew without logic or evidence. Perhaps it was sensing danger before it appeared. Perhaps it was feeling drawn to a choice no one else understood. Perhaps it was knowing a relationship had ended long before words were spoken. Those moments were not accidents. That was intuition, reminding you that you have always had access to truth beyond reasoning. But fear, too, leaves its imprint. Fear rushes in with urgency. It demands quick answers, fast reactions. It spins endless possibilities, none of them peaceful. It tells you that if you do not act now, disaster will follow. Intuition does not operate like this. Intuition is calm even when it warns. Intuition does not flood the mind with scenarios. It places one quiet knowing in the heart. The difficulty is that most of us have been trained to mistake fear for guidance. Fear is loud, so we assume it must be important. Intuition is quiet, so we assume it cannot be trusted. But the opposite is true. Fear shouts because it is unsure. Intuition whispers because it is certain. How do you begin to tell the difference? By feeling, not by overthinking. Fear contracts. It makes the chest tight, the stomach uneasy, the breath shallow. Intuition expands. Even when it says no, it leaves space in the body. Even when it redirects you, it carries peace. Fear scrambles you. Intuition settles you. Imagine you are standing before two doors. Fear will scream about all the dangers behind one, filling your mind with images of failure. Intuition will not scream. It will simply draw you toward one door with a quiet sense of rightness. No drama, no panic, only direction. Fear thrives on noise. Intuition thrives on stillness. The challenge is that fear is persuasive. It wears the mask of logic, reminding you of past mistakes, warning you about risks. It speaks in the voice of those who doubted you, those who shamed you, those who demanded you play small. It weaves their voices into your thoughts until you believe it is your own. But intuition is never cruel. It does not shame. It does not belittle. It does not accuse. It invites. It guides. It loves. In the quiet, you already know this difference. You already feel it. You know what it is like to be driven by panic and what it is like to be moved by peace. The body knows the truth long before the mind admits it. Your work is not to create intuition, but to trust the recognition of it. There will be times when you mistake fear for intuition. This is part of the learning. Do not punish yourself. Instead, notice the signature. Notice how fear always leaves residue, regret, exhaustion, confusion. Intuition leaves peace, even if the choice was difficult. When you can recognize the aftertaste, you can learn to distinguish them more clearly next time. As you move deeper into this path, you may notice that intuition often arrives first. Before the mind begins its analysis, there is a flash, a whisper, a subtle knowing. Then fear rushes in to question it. Intuition speaks quickly, simply. Fear argues, debates, lists reasons. That first whisper is usually the one to trust. But because fear has been rehearsed for so long, many ignore the whisper and follow the noise. And then they say, I knew it. I should have trusted myself. That moment of regret is also a gift because it teaches you that the voice was always there. It teaches you that next time you can lean into it more fully. Over time, this trust becomes a muscle. The more you listen, the stronger it grows. The more you honor the whisper, the louder it becomes. And gradually, the balance shifts. Fear loses its hold, and intuition becomes your natural guide again. This is not about perfection. Even the most intuitive beings sometimes mistake fear for guidance. This is about practice. This is about choosing again and again to lean toward the voice of peace rather than the voice of panic. This is about remembering that your intuition is not fragile. It is constant. There is a freedom in this trust. Imagine walking through life not needing proof before every step, not needing to calculate every outcome. Imagine moving with quiet confidence, not because you control the future, but because you trust your compass. This is the gift of intuition. It does not give you certainty of results. It gives you certainty of direction. The world will still test you. It will still present voices of fear disguised as wisdom. It will still challenge your trust in yourself. But as you grow, you will begin to notice the difference more quickly. You will pause before reacting. You will feel your body. You will ask, does this contract me or expand me? And in that pause, you will hear the truth. Some call this voice God, some call it higher self, some call it spirit, some call it knowing. The name is not what matters. What matters is that it is you. It is within you. It is inseparable from you. It is not outside counsel. It is not external authority. It is the voice of Source as it flows through your being. And because it is always flowing, you can return to it at any time. Even if you have ignored it for years, it does not leave. Even if you have silenced it with fear, it does not die. It waits, patient, certain, ready for the moment you choose to listen again. In this first chapter, let this be your remembrance. Intuition is not distant, not hidden, not exclusive. It is near, it is alive, it is yours. You were born with it, you carry it still, and the more you trust it, the more it will rise. So let us begin here, in this knowing. Fear may be clever, but love is wiser. Fear may be loud, but truth is steadier. And within you, right now, the voice of intuition is ready to lead you beyond fear, back to the path that was always yours. Chapter 2. The Masks of Fear. Fear wears many faces. Rarely does it arrive declaring itself. Instead, it dresses in disguises, slipping into our thoughts clothed as reason, as logic, as caution, as care. It can even wear the mask of love. It is skilled at hiding in plain sight, making itself appear like wisdom, when, at its root, it is still fear. To live guided by intuition, we must learn to recognize these masks. Not to fight fear, but to unmask it, to see it clearly, and in seeing, to no longer be ruled by it. The first mask fear often wears is logic. Logic has its place in our lives. It helps us navigate, plan, and build. But when fear hides behind logic, it becomes a tool of limitation. Imagine you feel a strong intuitive pull to start something new, a business, a move, a relationship. The intuition feels alive, expansive, quietly certain, but then fear enters, dressed as logic. It whispers, "What if you fail? Have you considered every risk? This is not practical. Be realistic." At first, these questions sound rational, but notice their effect. Instead of expanding you, they contract you. Instead of opening possibility, they close it. True logic clarifies, but fear disguised as logic paralyzes. When you feel reasoning that shrinks your spirit, you are looking at the mask of fear. The second mask fear often wears is caution. There are times when caution is wise, when pausing prevents harm, but fear often exaggerates caution into paralysis. You sense an opportunity, but the mask of caution whispers, "It's not safe. Wait until everything is certain. Do more research. You are not ready." This voice convinces you that endless hesitation is protection, when in truth, it is avoidance. Intuition may tell you to pause, but its pause feels spacious, not suffocating. Intuition says, not yet, with peace. Fear says, not yet, with restlessness. The mask of caution tries to keep you in waiting forever so that you never step into the unknown where growth and transformation live. Another mask fear wears is reasonableness. This one is tricky because it sounds mature, measured, even admirable. It whispers, don't be foolish, be sensible. Everyone else is doing it this way. Why risk standing out? And so, you trade your inner knowing for conformity, telling yourself you are being reasonable. But notice again the effect. Does this voice leave you settled in peace or unsettled in compromise? Intuition never asks you to betray yourself in the name of being acceptable. The mask of reasonableness does. Fear can also wear the mask of love. This is perhaps its most deceptive disguise. It may sound like care. Don't take risks. I just want you to be safe. Don't speak your truth. You might hurt someone. Don't change. Others may not understand. At first, this feels like protection, even compassion. But true love never imprisons. True love never silences the soul. If the so-called love keeps you small, it is not love. It is fear, dressed in affection. Intuition may guide you to act with gentleness, but it never binds you. Love expands. Fear disguised as love restricts. Another mask fear adopts is spirituality itself. It can whisper through sacred language. You must wait for a sign. You must fast longer, pray harder, cleanse more. You are not yet pure enough, not yet worthy enough to trust your inner knowing. At first, this sounds holy, but its fruit is delay, doubt, and dependence on endless preparation. Spirit does not demand endless proving. Intuition speaks simply, directly, here and now. When spirituality leads you deeper into trust and alignment, it is true. When it leaves you endlessly waiting for permission, it is fear. Fear also hides in the mask of memory. It recalls the times you trusted and things did not turn out as you hoped. It replays failure, embarrassment, rejection. It says, remember the last time? Don't be naive. Memory has value when it teaches, but fear uses memory to chain you to the past. Intuition acknowledges memory, but does not bow to it. Intuition says, that was then, this is now. Fear says, because it happened before, it will happen again. When the past is used as a prison, fear is behind the mask. Then there is the mask of humility. It whispers, who do you think you are to know, to lead, to trust yourself? Stay small. Don't make others uncomfortable. At first, this sounds like modesty, but true humility is not self-betrayal. True humility acknowledges source within and flows from it. When humility shrinks you into silence and self-denial, it is fear hiding again. Fear can even hide behind the mask of busyness. It convinces you that you are too busy to pause, too busy to listen, too busy to feel. It fills your schedule so that silence never has room. And in that noise, intuition's whisper is drowned. Intuition requires no endless striving. It often speaks most clearly in the pause, in the moment of stillness you allow yourself. When busyness keeps you from listening, it is not purpose, it is fear, avoiding awareness. The reason fear is so persuasive in all these masks is because it does not come as an enemy, but as a counterfeit ally. It pretends to protect, to guide, to help. And sometimes it succeeds in convincing us for years. But once you begin to notice the patterns, the disguise unravels. Because beneath every mask of fear, the energy feels the same, contracting, restless, heavy. Fear always makes you smaller than you are. Intuition always makes you more whole. The unmasking begins with awareness. Do not try to fight fear head-on, for what you resist, you empower. Instead, watch it. Notice the costume it wears. Ask yourself, what is the fruit of this voice? Does it leave me open or closed, peaceful or anxious, empowered or diminished? In that noticing, the mask slips, and once the mask slips, fear loses its hold. Consider the times in your life when you believed fear's disguise. You thought you were being logical, cautious, loving, reasonable. Yet looking back, you see that you stayed too long in places that drained you. You avoided steps that could have freed you. You silenced truths that could have healed you. This is not to bring shame, but clarity. Fear's disguises are convincing, but they are not ultimate. You can unmask them now. There is one more mask fear wears that is worth naming, the mask of your own voice. It whispers in first person, saying, I can't, I shouldn't, I'm not ready, and because it sounds like your thought, you believe it is you. But you are not the voice of fear. You are the awareness listening to it. You are the presence capable of choosing differently. When you realize that fear is not you, but only a passing voice, you reclaim your power. So what do you do when fear shows itself, whether in logic, caution, love, reason, memory, humility, busyness, or even your own voice? You do not argue. You return to the body. You breathe. You ask, what does this feel like in me? If it contracts, if it unsettles, if it drains, it is fear. If it expands, if it steadies, if it leaves you with quiet peace, it is intuition. Fear's masks confuse the mind, but they cannot fool the body. The body is the stage where truth reveals itself. The more you practice this noticing, the clearer the difference becomes. Fear may still arrive, but you will see through its disguise more quickly. You will smile at its masks and choose not to obey. You will listen for the quieter voice underneath, the voice that does not push or panic, but guides. This is the return to intuition, the return to the voice within. Over time, you will begin to appreciate fear for what it reveals. Each mask teaches you where you have been vulnerable to doubt. Each disguise shows you where you have handed over your trust. And each time you see through it, you grow stronger, more certain, more free. Fear loses its power not when it disappears, but when you no longer mistake it for truth. The masks will try again and again. Sometimes you will still believe them. That is part of being human. But now you know the signs. Now you know the feeling. Now you know that fear always contracts, while intuition always expands. In this knowing, you are no longer captive. And so, as we close this chapter, remember, fear is smart and it will try many disguises. But no matter what mask it wears, it cannot change its essence. Fear limits, intuition liberates. Fear binds, intuition frees. Fear shouts with urgency. Intuition whispers with certainty. Beneath every mask of fear, the truth remains. You have within you a voice that does not deceive, a voice that does not shrink you, a voice that guides you steadily home. This is the voice within, and it has always been yours. Chapter 3, Wishful Thinking versus Inner Knowing. There is a subtle line between the voice of intuition and the voice of desire, and for many, this is where the greatest confusion arises. Intuition is the voice of truth, grounded in alignment, carrying the resonance of peace. Wishful thinking is the voice of longing, fueled by unmet needs, fantasies, or fear of lack. Both can feel persuasive, but one expands your being while the other leaves you chasing illusions. To walk the path of intuition, you must learn to discern between the two. Wishful thinking often begins with a hunger. It springs from the parts of you that feel empty, the places where you want relief, validation, or comfort. When this longing arises, it shapes itself into images of how things should be. You tell yourself that a certain job, relationship, opportunity, or outcome will be the answer, and you cling to it. At first, it feels like guidance because the desire is so strong. But notice what follows. Wishful thinking creates attachment. It insists on one outcome, one path, one person, one door. It says, "This must happen, or else I cannot be whole." Intuition, by contrast, does not cling. It does not insist. It guides with clarity, but without attachment. It says, "This is the way now, but if the way shifts, peace remains." Intuition does not hold your wholeness hostage to an outcome. Another way to discern the difference is through timing. Wishful thinking is impatient. It demands results now. It thrives on urgency, convincing you that if you do not have the answer or the outcome immediately, something is wrong. Intuition has no such urgency. It may prompt you to act quickly at times, but even then, the energy feels calm, settled, assured. Wishful thinking burns hot and then collapses into disappointment. Intuition is steady, consistent, reliable. It does not fade when the initial excitement wears off. Consider the body as your compass. When an idea or desire arises, notice what happens in your chest, your breath, your stomach. Wishful thinking often leaves tension just beneath the surface, a slight clenching, a shallow breath, a restless energy. Intuition, even when it asks you to do something bold, carries a sense of openness. The breath deepens, the body softens. You feel more yourself, not less. The body does not lie. The body reveals the difference between fantasy and truth. Wishful thinking also tends to seek external validation. You find yourself asking repeatedly for signs, pulling cards, checking horoscopes, searching for confirmation outside of yourself. The more you chase reassurance, the more restless you become. Intuition does not demand this constant proving. It may be affirmed by external signs, but it does not require them. When guidance is true, it stands quietly on its own. You may feel the urge to share it, but you do not need others to convince you. The certainty lives inside you. Another mark of wishful thinking is that it often contradicts reality. It clings to what you want to see, even when evidence shows otherwise. You tell yourself the relationship is alive, even though the other person has left. You convince yourself the opportunity is yours, even when doors have closed. Intuition does not deny reality, it works with it. It may tell you that a relationship is over, but that healing or new love is ahead. It may show you that one door has closed, but another is about to open. Intuition does not lie to preserve your comfort. It tells the truth, but always with a sense of hope and alignment. Wishful thinking also tends to swing dramatically with moods. One day you feel certain, the next day you feel devastated. The so-called guidance changes shape with your emotional weather. Intuition does not waver like this. It may be challenged by doubt, but when you return to stillness, the knowing is the same. Intuition holds steady beneath the storms of emotion. Practical discernment begins with slowing down. When you feel a pull, ask yourself, does this arise from fullness or from emptiness? If it arises from emptiness, it is likely wishful thinking, trying to fill a void. If it arises from fullness, from a place where you already feel whole but are guided to expand, it is likely intuition. Intuition flows from abundance. Wishful thinking flows from lack. Another question to ask is, what happens if this does not come to pass? If the thought of losing the outcome leaves you shattered, desperate, undone, then you are looking at wishful thinking. Intuition may guide you toward a path, but if that path shifts, you remain anchored. The truth does not collapse when circumstances change. Intuition is rooted in the eternal, not the temporary. It is important also to recognize the role of ego in wishful thinking. Ego loves to be special, to be chosen, to be admired. So it feeds desires that inflate the self-image. It tells you that this particular recognition, this particular achievement, this particular relationship will finally prove your worth. Intuition does not appeal to ego. It appeals to essence. It calls you not to prove, but to align, not to inflate, but to become more authentic. When guidance feeds the need to be seen as superior, it is often wishful thinking in disguise. When guidance calls you deeper into authenticity, even at the cost of image, it is intuition. One of the greatest teachers of discernment is hindsight. Look back at times when you felt certain about something that later proved false. Was it intuition or was it desire? What were the signatures? You may notice that the false guidance came with restlessness, urgency, attachment, or denial of reality. True intuition, even when outcomes were different than you expected, carried peace and alignment. By studying your own history, you train your awareness to recognize the patterns. Wishful thinking often keeps you in cycles of disappointment. You attach to an outcome, it does not happen, and you collapse into despair. Then a new fantasy arises and you attach again. The cycle repeats. Intuition does not trap you in cycles. It may lead you through challenges, but it always moves you forward, expanding you into greater clarity and strength. This is not to say that desire is wrong. Desire has its place. It can be the spark that draws your attention, the seed of intuition's message. But when desire hardens into attachment and blinds you to reality, it becomes wishful thinking. The task is not to reject desire, but to refine it, to bring it into alignment with intuition. How do you refine desire? By bringing it into stillness. When a longing arises, instead of clinging to it, hold it lightly. Offer it to source. Ask, if this is aligned, let it expand. If not, let it dissolve. Watch how it feels in your body when you release it. If the desire is rooted in truth, it will return, steadier and clearer. If it is not, it will fade. This is how you distinguish between fantasy and inner knowing. Another practice of discernment is to notice the language of the inner voice. Wishful thinking speaks in absolutes. It must be this person, this job, this outcome. Intuition speaks with clarity but flexibility. It may say, this path feels right now, but it does not bind you to one form. Intuition points to essence, not form. Wishful thinking clings to form, ignoring essence. For example, wishful thinking may say, I must be with this specific person to feel loved. Intuition says, love is calling you, and whether through this person or another, it will be fulfilled. Wishful thinking narrows the channel. Intuition widens it. It is also useful to notice how the voice responds to resistance. When reality contradicts it, wishful thinking doubles down, becoming more desperate, more insistent. Intuition does not need to force. If a door closes, intuition accepts and guides you to the next. It does not cling to what no longer aligns. The more you honor these differences, the more confident you become in your discernment. At first, you may confuse them often, but each time you reflect, each time you notice the signature, your awareness sharpens. Eventually, the distinction becomes second nature. There is a great freedom in learning this discernment. You no longer chase illusions that drain you. You no longer mistake fantasy for truth. You begin to trust the quieter, steadier voice that guides you through reality with grace. You begin to live anchored in alignment, not pulled by restless longing. And here lies the paradox. When you stop clinging to wishful thinking, your desires actually align more deeply with intuition. You discover that the deepest desires of your heart were not fantasies at all, but messages of your soul. They only became distorted when fear or lack twisted them into attachment. When you release the distortion, the true desire remains, and it is in harmony with your intuition. So let this chapter remind you, not every longing is intuition, not every desire is truth, but within each desire is a seed. If you hold it lightly, if you listen with discernment, you will discover which seeds are illusions and which are guidance. And the seeds that are true will grow, not because you forced them, but because they were always meant to. In the end, intuition is the voice of alignment, steady and clear. Wishful thinking is the echo of longing, restless and grasping. One leads you into peace, the other into cycles of disappointment. But now you know the difference, now you have the tools to discern. And with that discernment, you can trust more fully, listen more deeply, and walk more confidently in the path of the voice within. Chapter 4. Recognizing the body's compass. The body does not lie. Long before the mind invents its stories, the body reveals truth. Every thought, every possibility, every choice leaves an imprint in sensation. When intuition speaks, it speaks through the body. When fear speaks, it too speaks through the body, but in a different language. To learn to recognize the difference, you must learn to listen, not just with your mind, but with your whole being. For many, the body has been neglected, treated as a servant for the mind's demands, rather than as a compass of truth. We push it, silence it, numb it, and then wonder why we feel disconnected from our inner knowing. But the body has always been faithful. It carries wisdom that cannot be fabricated. You may deceive yourself with words, but your chest will tighten when something is wrong. You may pretend to be at peace, but your stomach will churn when a situation is false. The body keeps revealing, even when you are not ready to admit the truth. Intuition often registers in the body as openness. It may feel like your chest expands, like your breath deepens, like warmth flows. It does not mean the choice is easy or without risk, but there is a quality of spaciousness. You feel more alive, more yourself, even if you are stepping into the unknown. Fear, by contrast, contracts. The chest tightens, the breath shortens, the shoulders tense, the stomach knots. Even when fear tries to disguise itself as logic or love, the body reveals its signature. Intuition opens, fear closes. This difference may appear subtle at first, but with practice, it becomes undeniable. Consider a time you said yes to something against your deeper knowing. Perhaps you accepted a job that looked perfect on paper, but felt heavy in your chest. Perhaps you stayed in a relationship because it seemed reasonable, but your body felt restless. At the time, you may have ignored the signals. Later, you realized the body had known. This is not hindsight speaking. It is recognition. The body registered truth even when the mind refused it. One of the clearest markers of intuition in the body is peace. Not always excitement, not always joy, but peace. A calm, steady sense that even if the path is uncertain, you are aligned, you feel rooted, your breath is deeper, By contrast, wishful thinking often stirs restlessness. Fear often stirs agitation. Even when they appear convincing, their imprint is unease. Intuition may challenge you, but it never leaves you in torment. It steadies you, not unsettles you. It is helpful to begin noticing your own bodily signatures. When something is right for you, what happens in your chest, your breath, your energy? When something is wrong, what happens in your stomach, your muscles, your skin? These patterns are personal, but they follow the same principle. Truth expands, falsehood contracts. The more you observe, the clearer your compass becomes. Many confuse excitement with intuition. Excitement can be present in both fear and truth. The difference is in the quality. Excitement born of fear feels jittery, rushed, unstable. Excitement born of intuition feels alive yet grounded. One scatters, the other centers. If you feel a sudden surge, pause. Ask, does this leave me more rooted or less? Excitement alone is not proof. The body's steadiness is the marker. Another important signal is fatigue. When you are moving against your intuition, the body often grows weary. You may feel drained, heavy, uninspired. When you are aligned with intuition, even effort feels different. Work may be hard, but it leaves you fulfilled rather than depleted. This is the body's way of saying yes or no. Listen to it. Fatigue in alignment restores you. Fatigue in misalignment empties you. The body is also sensitive to people and environments. You may walk into a room and feel tension before anyone speaks. You may meet someone and feel unease even as they smile. This is intuition speaking through sensation. Energy is registered in the body before the mind processes it. How often have you said, I don't know why, but I just don't feel comfortable? That is the compass at work. Learning to recognize the body's compass requires slowing down. In a culture of speed and distraction, the subtle signals are easily missed, but they are always there. The tightening, the softening, the restlessness, the ease. Begin by pausing when you face decisions. Notice your breath. Notice your chest. Notice your stomach. Ask, how does this land in me? Do not seek dramatic signs. Trust the subtle. It is important also to distinguish between the body's memory of trauma and the body's guidance in the present. Sometimes fear responses are not about the current choice, but about past pain. A tight chest may arise, not because intuition says no, but because memory is being stirred. Here, discernment deepens. Intuition feels calm beneath the sensation. Trauma feels chaotic. If you sense agitation, ask, is this about now or is this about before? Intuition speaks of the present moment. Trauma echoes the past. Both deserve compassion, but they are not the same. With practice, you begin to recognize layers. The body may react first with memory, but beneath it, intuition is steady. For example, you may feel nervous before a new opportunity because in the past you failed. But beneath the nerves, there is a calm knowing that this step is right. If you listen only to the surface, you may mistake memory for intuition. If you listen deeper, you find the compass. The body also communicates through rhythm. When aligned, you feel in flow. When misaligned, you feel resistance. Flow does not mean ease without effort. It means effort that feels meaningful. Resistance does not mean challenge. It means friction that drains. For example, when intuition guides you into new work, you may face challenges, but there is momentum. Things connect, doors open. When fear guides, even small steps feel blocked, strained, exhausting. Pay attention to rhythm. It is another voice of the body's compass. There is a practice that sharpens discernment. Recall moments when you trusted your intuition and it proved true. Replay them in your memory. Notice how your body felt then. Was your breath deeper? Did you feel warmth, expansion, lightness? These are your personal markers. Then recall moments when you followed fear or fantasy. Notice the body then. Did you feel tightness, restlessness, shallow breath? These memories train you to recognize the different in the present. Another layer of discernment is in dreams. The body speaks there too. Dreams born of fear often leave you unsettled. Dreams touched by intuition leave you with clarity, even if the images are strange. Notice how you wake. Do you feel heavy or light, restless or peaceful? The body carries the residue. It knows. The beauty of the body's compass is that it does not require advanced techniques. You do not need rituals, ceremonies, or special tools. You only need to listen. Sit with your choices. Feel them in your chest, your breath, your stomach. Ask, does this expand or contract me? Does this root me or scatter me? The answer is already there. This is not about perfection. There will be times when you misread, when desire clouds the signal, when memory interferes. But even then, your body will reveal truth in hindsight. You will look back and realize the signal was there. Each time you notice, you refine your compass. Each time you honor it, it strengthens. The body is not against you. It is not an obstacle to spiritual connection. It is the vessel through which spirit speaks. Intuition is not floating above you in the ether. It is flowing through you here and now. When you learn to listen to your body, you are listening to your soul. So let this chapter remind you, intuition does not live only in the mind. It lives in your chest, your breath, your stomach, your skin. It lives in your rhythm, your peace, your energy. When fear tries to confuse you, the body clarifies. Fear contracts. Intuition expands. Fear unsettles. Intuition steadies. Trust these signals. They are the compass of truth, always available, always faithful, always guiding you home. Chapter 5. Strengthening the channel. Intuition is not fragile. It is not a rare gift that appears only in sacred moments. It is constant, steady, always present. What makes it seem elusive is not its absence, but our inattention. The channel of intuition is like a muscle. It strengthens with use. It weakens with neglect. To live guided by the voice within, you must nurture this channel, not with force, but with consistent trust, practice, and awareness. The first way to strengthen intuition is to honor it in small things. Many people expect intuition to speak only in grand, life-changing decisions. They wait for flashes of lightning to confirm their biggest choices. But intuition is speaking all the time, even in the smallest details. When you wonder which road to take home, which words to say in a conversation, which book to pick up, intuition is present. Strengthening the channel means paying attention to these whispers, not just the shouts. When you honor the small nudges, you build trust that allows you to recognize the larger ones. Consider the everyday choice of what to eat. You may have a plan, but suddenly you feel drawn to a different meal. If you ignore it, nothing catastrophic may happen. But if you listen, you may notice that your body feels nourished in a deeper way. This is intuition in action. Or think of the sudden urge to call a friend. You dismiss it, but later you discover they were struggling. These small nudges are not trivial. They are training. They are reminders that the channel is open, that the voice within is alive. Another way to strengthen the channel is to reflect on your history. Look back at times when you followed intuition. What was the result? How did it feel in your body? Then look at times you ignored it. What happened then? What were the signals you overlooked? By reviewing your own life, you learn your personal markers. You begin to see the difference more clearly between the calm certainty of intuition and the restless noise of fear. Each reflection sharpens awareness. Each remembrance builds trust. Strength also comes through quiet. Intuition speaks in subtle ways, and subtlety requires space. In a life filled with noise, distraction, and constant stimulation, the whisper of intuition is drowned out. You do not need hours of silence each day, but you do need moments. Even 1 minute of conscious stillness can clear the static. In that pause, in that breath, in that uncluttered space, intuition is easier to recognize. Trust grows with practice. At first, you may question every nudge, wondering if it is true or imagined. But the more you act on it, the more evidence you gather. You begin to notice that when you listen, life flows more smoothly. Synchronicities increase and peace deepens. When you ignore it, struggle follows. This evidence builds confidence. Over time, you stop doubting and start trusting. The channel becomes stronger because you are no longer blocking it with disbelief. A practical way to test intuition is to experiment in low-stakes situations. If you feel nudged to take a different route home, try it. If you feel nudged to pick up a certain book, do it. If you feel nudged to pause before speaking, wait. Watch what happens. Often you will find that the nudge was right. You avoided traffic. You found the exact words you needed. You stumbled upon the message that answered your question. The more you practice in small areas, the more confident you become in larger ones. Strengthening the channel also requires honesty. You must be willing to admit when what you called intuition was really fear or wishful thinking. This is not failure. This is refinement. Each time you misread, you learn. You begin to recognize the signatures more clearly. You discover that true intuition carries peace, while fear carries urgency, and wishful thinking carries restlessness. These lessons make your discernment sharper. With each step, the channel becomes clearer. Another important aspect is patience. Intuition does not always give you the full picture. Sometimes it only gives you the next step. You may want the whole map, but intuition guides step by step. Strengthening the channel means being willing to move with partial light, trusting that as you walk, more will be revealed. Think of walking at night with a lantern. The lantern does not light the entire path, only a few steps ahead. But as you keep moving, the light keeps moving with you. This is how intuition works. It is also valuable to notice the rhythm of resistance and flow. When you follow intuition, even if challenges arise, there is a sense of alignment. Doors open, synchronicities appear, support shows up. When you resist, everything feels harder. You push against invisible walls. Life seems to stall. Strengthening the channel means paying attention to this rhythm, learning from it, and choosing alignment more often. Relationships provide another arena for practice. How often have you felt an inner nudge about someone, whether to draw closer or to create distance? Sometimes you ignored it, only to regret it later. Sometimes you listened, and it saved you from pain or opened you to love. These experiences are not random. They are lessons in trust. The more you honor your relational intuition, the more you protect your energy and open to authentic connections. Intuition also speaks in timing. You may have a plan, but something inside says, wait, or perhaps it says, act now. Strengthening the channel means listening to timing, even when it contradicts logic. For example, you may feel drawn to apply for a position before the deadline. Later, you discover that early applications were prioritized. Or you may feel nudged to wait before signing a contract, and days later, new information surfaces that changes everything. Intuition sees beyond what the mind sees. Trusting its timing strengthens your alignment with the flow of life. Another practice is to notice synchronicities. When you follow a nudge and then see confirmations, a phrase repeated, a symbol appearing, an unexpected opportunity, this is life affirming your intuition. These synchronicities are not coincidences. They are the universe's way of showing you that you are in rhythm. The more you acknowledge them, the more they multiply. Strengthening the channel means paying attention to these winks from life and letting them build your trust. It is also important to care for your physical body. A tired, stressed, or numbed body has difficulty sensing subtle guidance. Rest, nourishment, movement, and presence make the channel clearer. This is not about perfection or rigid health rules. It is about honoring the vessel through which intuition flows. When your body is cared for, your compass is sharper. When it is neglected, signals are harder to discern. Strength also comes from releasing the need for external approval. If you constantly look for others to validate your inner knowing, you weaken your channel. You begin to depend on their voices instead of your own. Strengthening intuition means learning to stand in your truth, even if others do not understand. It is not about convincing anyone. It is about alignment. The more you trust yourself, the stronger the channel becomes. One of the greatest tools for strengthening intuition is gratitude. Each time you recognize that guidance has led you well, pause and give thanks. Gratitude reinforces trust. It tells your soul, I see you, I honor you, I will listen again. This acknowledgement deepens the relationship with your inner voice. It transforms intuition from a distant whisper into a trusted companion. It is also useful to release perfection. There will be times when you misinterpret, when you act on fear thinking it was intuition. This is not failure, it is practice. Every misstep teaches you. Every reflection strengthens you. Perfection is not the goal, connection is. The more you let go of pressure, the freer you become to listen, learn, and grow. Imagine a musician learning to play. At first, every note is uncertain, every movement awkward, but with practice, the notes flow more naturally, the music becomes effortless. Intuition works the same way. The more you practice listening and acting, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it feels less like effort and more like rhythm. You do not strain to hear, you live attuned. In daily life, this can be as simple as pausing before you speak, noticing a nudge to take a different route, feeling a draw toward a certain opportunity. Each time you honor it, you strengthen the channel. Each time you reflect, you refine your awareness. Each time you trust, you expand your alignment. Over time, intuition shifts from being a rare event to being your way of living. So let this chapter remind you, intuition is not distant, fragile, or reserved for the chosen. It is constant, steady, available to all. Strengthening the channel does not require extraordinary rituals. It requires attention, trust, practice, and reflection. The more you honor the small nudges, the more you recognize the signatures, the more you act in alignment, the stronger the channel becomes. Fear will still whisper, doubt will still arise, but as the channel strengthens, you will recognize them more quickly. You will not be swayed by every voice. You will stand steady in the guidance of the voice within. And that steadiness is freedom. It is the freedom to live aligned, to move with peace, to trust your path without needing proof. This freedom is not far away. It is here, now, waiting for you to trust what has always been speaking. Chapter 6: Living as an Intuitive Being. To live as an intuitive being is to live in rhythm with yourself, with life, and with Source. It is not a life without challenges, but a life where challenges no longer define you. It is not a life where uncertainty disappears, but a life where uncertainty does not terrify you. Living intuitively does not mean you will never doubt, never fall, never question. It means that through all of it, you are guided by a deeper compass, one that never fails, even when you stumble. There is a difference between having intuitive moments and living as an intuitive being. Many have flashes of knowing, sparks of recognition, brief encounters with the voice within. But living intuitively means letting that voice become your primary guide, not an occasional visitor. It means building a relationship with your inner knowing that is constant, trusted, and natural. It means choosing again and again to listen to the quiet voice of alignment over the loud voices of fear. To see the difference clearly, imagine two lives side by side. In one, fear is the guide. In the other, intuition leads. When fear leads, choices are made from contraction. You accept jobs not because they align, but because you are afraid of lack. You stay in relationships not because they nurture you, but because you are afraid of being alone. You silence your truth, not because it is wrong, but because you are afraid of rejection. Fear-driven life is ruled by avoidance. You avoid risk, avoid loss, avoid disapproval, and in the process, you avoid yourself. You live smaller than you are, folded into shapes that do not fit, because fear convinces you that safety is worth more than truth. When intuition leads, choices are made from alignment. You accept opportunities because they resonate, not because they quiet your insecurity. You stay in relationships because they expand you, not because they prevent loneliness. You speak your truth because it is authentic, not because it guarantees acceptance. Intuition-led life is not about avoiding, but about aligning. It draws you toward what nourishes, even if it is unknown. It expands you into authenticity, even if it costs comfort. It roots you in peace, even when the future is uncertain. Fear-led life feels restless. It is filled with constant questioning. What if this fails? What if they leave? What if I am wrong? Decisions are followed by endless second-guessing. Even when things go well, fear whispers of collapse. There is no rest, only temporary relief. Intuition-led life feels anchored. Doubt may still whisper, but beneath it, there is a steady knowing. I am where I need to be. Decisions are followed by peace, even when outcomes are not yet clear. Even in storms, you feel rooted. Fear-led life often cycles in repetition. You find yourself facing the same patterns, the same lessons, the same frustrations, because fear keeps you circling the familiar. It tells you it is safer to repeat than to step into the unknown. Intuition-led life moves in growth. You may revisit lessons, but each time at a deeper level with greater clarity. You are not trapped in circles. You are moving in spirals, expanding into more of who you are. Fear-led life depends heavily on external validation. You need others to approve, to affirm, to reassure you that you are right. Without their voices, you feel lost. Intuition-led life is rooted within. You may welcome affirmation, but you do not depend on it. You trust the inner voice even when it is misunderstood. You walk in alignment even when others do not see. Fear-led life feels like striving. You push, you force, you grasp. You are always trying to control outcomes, to secure guarantees, to manufacture certainty. Intuition-led life feels like flow. You still work, you still act, you still engage, but it feels different. Effort feels purposeful. Actions feel guided. You are carried by rhythm rather than weighed down by struggle. In relationships, fear leads to compromise of self. You shapeshift to keep others comfortable. You hide truths to avoid conflict. You cling to those who do not honor you. Intuition leads to authenticity. You show up as you are. You attract those who resonate with your truth and release those who do not. Love becomes freedom, not imprisonment. In work, fear keeps you in roles that drain you because it convinces you there are no better options. Intuition guides you toward opportunities that align with your gifts, even if they are unconventional. Fear binds you to survival. Intuition leads you to purpose. Even in the small details of life, the contrast is clear. Fear says rush, intuition says pause. Fear says prove, intuition says trust. Fear says you are not enough, intuition says you already are. Living as an intuitive being does not mean you never hear fear. Fear will still whisper, still disguise itself, still try to take the lead. But when the channel of intuition is strong, fear no longer rules. You recognize it quickly, you see its mask, and you return to alignment. The difference is not the absence of fear, but the presence of trust. Practical living as an intuitive being involves consistent listening. It means pausing before decisions, checking in with your body, asking, does this expand me or contract me? It means honoring nudges, even when they do not make sense. It means releasing attachment to specific outcomes and trusting the flow. It means reflecting on your choices, learning from them, and strengthening your discernment with each step. It also means embracing patience. Intuition often guides step by step, not with full maps. Living intuitively is walking in faith, trusting the lantern that lights only the next few steps. Fear demands certainty of destination before beginning. Intuition says, begin and the path will unfold. Living as an intuitive being means being at peace with partial light. Over time, the fruits of intuition-led living become clear. You notice more synchronicities, more alignment, more peace. You find that even when challenges arise, you are steadier. You feel connected to something larger than yourself. Guided by a wisdom that does not falter, you become less reactive, more responsive, less dependent on proof, more anchored in trust. This way of being is not reserved for mystics or seers. It is available to everyone. It does not require special gifts, only willingness. The voice within speaks to all. The difference is in who listens. To live as an intuitive being is to decide that you will listen, not sometimes, but always. Imagine again the two lives side by side. One lives in fear, restless, contracted, striving, dependent, circling. The other lives in intuition, anchored, expansive, flowing, authentic, growing. Both face storms, but only one is rooted. Both walk into uncertainty, but only one does so with peace. Both hear doubt, but only one has a deeper voice to trust. Which life do you choose? Not once, but daily. Every choice is an opportunity to choose fear or intuition. Every moment invites you to return to the compass within. Living as an intuitive being is not about perfection, but about choice. Again and again, you choose alignment. Again and again, you choose truth. And in time, those choices create a new way of living. Fear still knocks, but you no longer answer. Doubt still whispers, but you no longer believe. You live attuned, aligned, guided. You live as who you are, an intuitive being, connected to Source, carrying wisdom within. As this chapter closes, let the contrast be clear in your heart. Fear-led life is small. Intuition-led life is expansive. Fear contracts. Intuition opens. Fear isolates. Intuition connects. Fear strives. Intuition flows. One diminishes, the other fulfills. And the choice between them is yours, here and now. So breathe. Listen. Remember, you are not meant to live circling in fear. You are meant to live guided by the voice within. This voice has never left you. It has always been speaking. And when you choose to listen, you step into the life you were always meant to live. A life of alignment, a life of trust, a life of freedom. This is the life of an intuitive being. Chapter 7. The Voice That Was Always Yours. There is a truth you have carried from the very beginning, though the world has tried to make you forget. You were born connected. You were born with a compass inside you, a voice within that has never left your side. Long before fear taught you to doubt yourself, long before the noise of the world filled your ears, you knew how to listen. You knew how to sense. You knew how to trust. That voice is not new. It is not foreign. It has always been yours. The journey you have walked in these chapters was never about becoming something other than yourself. It was about remembering. It was about peeling back the disguises of fear, the whispers of doubt, the layers of conditioning that convinced you that you could not trust your own knowing. Each mask removed, each whisper discerned, each pause honored has been a return to what you already carry. You have not been building intuition. You have been unveiling it. Fear will always try to convince you otherwise. It will say you must strive harder, prove more, become pure enough, wise enough, spiritual enough before you are worthy to hear. But the truth is simple. You are already worthy. You are already whole. You are already connected. Intuition is not earned. It is lived. The mind may resist this truth. It has been trained to seek evidence, to crave certainty, to demand answers that fit neatly into its logic. But intuition is not logic. It is deeper. It is not loud. It is subtle. It is not frantic. It is steady. It is not desperate. It is calm. The mind demands to know before moving. Intuition whispers, move and you will know. To live by this voice is to choose trust over proof, peace over panic, alignment over fear. Think of the moments in your life when intuition has broken through, even when you were not looking for it. The sudden urge to pause, the quiet nudge to turn, the soft certainty that a choice was right or wrong. These were not accidents. These were reminders, gentle evidence that the voice within is constant, waiting, alive. Each time you listened, you stepped closer to yourself. Each time you ignored, you learned. Either way, the voice remained faithful. To live now as an intuitive being is not to live without fear, but to live no longer ruled by fear. Fear may still whisper, still disguise itself, still knock on your door, but now you know its masks. Now you know its residue. Now you know the difference between contraction and expansion, between restlessness and peace, between fantasy and truth. You are not fooled as easily. You return more quickly. You trust more deeply. And as you trust, life shifts, not because challenges vanish, but because you are anchored through them, not because storms cease, but because you are rooted in them, not because you always know what comes next, but because you trust the lantern that lights the next step. This trust becomes your rhythm. This rhythm becomes your way of living. This way of living becomes your freedom. The voice within is not separate from source. It is not separate from the flow of life. It is not separate from who you truly are. It is source speaking through you. It is life aligning within you. It is your truest self remembering itself. To honor it is to honor the divine. To listen to it is to return to wholeness. To live by it is to live the life you were created for. This is not a path reserved for a chosen few. It is not rare, not fragile, not exclusive. It belongs to all. It belongs to you. Every breath, every moment, every choice carries the invitation to return. Even when you wander, even when you forget, even when you doubt, the voice remains, patient, steady, certain, waiting for you to listen again. So what does it mean to live with this voice as your guide? It means you begin each day listening, not rushing. You pause before choices, not from hesitation, but from alignment. You trust the subtle nudge, even when you cannot explain it. You release attachment to outcomes, knowing that peace is found in alignment, not in results. You move through relationships with authenticity, no longer silencing your truth for fear of rejection. You step into opportunities that expand you, even if they defy logic. You live anchored in peace, not because life is perfect, but because you know you are guided. There will still be days when you forget, days when fear feels louder, when doubt feels stronger, when you question everything. But now you know that forgetting is not failure. It is simply another chance to remember. Each return strengthens you. Each pause deepens you. Each act of trust opens you wider to the flow of life. You are not at the mercy of the world's noise. You are not at the mercy of fear's disguises. You are not without guidance. You are not without truth. You are guided. You are connected. You are whole. So let this final chapter be not an ending, but a beginning of living each day in rhythm with the voice that was always yours, a beginning of trusting the compass that has never failed you, a beginning of walking with peace, with clarity, with freedom, because you no longer hand your power to fear. You live anchored in the voice within. And as you walk this way, life will meet you differently. Doors will open, synchronicities will multiply, relationships will deepen, clarity will expand. Not because life has suddenly changed, but because you have. You are no longer resisting what was always present. You are flowing with it. You are listening. You are aligned. The voice within is not a stranger. It is your oldest companion. It was there when you first opened your eyes to this world. It was there in your childhood instincts. It was there in every whisper you ignored and every nudge you followed. It was there in your darkest nights and your brightest mornings. It was there when you doubted, and it will be there when you trust again. It is yours. It is you. It is the voice that was always yours. And now, as this journey draws to a close, let it draw you deeper into beginning. Let the words fade, but let the truth remain. You are not searching for intuition. You are not building intuition. You are remembering what was never lost. You are returning to the voice within, and that voice is steady, faithful, and ready to guide you always. Take this truth into your heart, carry it into your days, let it shape your choices, your relationships, your work, your rest. Let it root you in peace. Let it remind you again and again that you are guided. And when fear whispers, when doubt arises, when the world shouts, return to this knowing. The voice within was always yours. And so we close with affirmations, not as new truths, but as reminders of what you already carry. Speak them, claim them, let them echo in your spirit as anchors of remembrance. I am guided, I am rooted, I am open, I am steady, I am whole. I am connected to source. I am aligned with truth. I am free from fear's hold. I am attuned to the voice within. I am expanding in trust. I am living in peace. I am walking in freedom. I am who I was always meant to be. These words are not seeds planted for the future. They are the fruit of what already lives in you. They are not aspirations. They are declarations. They are not distant. They are present. Each time you speak them, you align deeper with the truth that has always been yours. You are guided. You are connected. You are whole. The voice within has always been yours, and it will never leave you. Trust it. Live by it. Become who you already are. This journey has been a remembering, a return to the voice that was always yours. As these words come to a close, know that the journey itself does not end here. The compass within you continues to speak in every moment, in every breath, in every choice. You are guided. You are connected. You are whole. Carry this truth gently into your days. Let it remind you when fear whispers. Let it steady you when doubt arises. Let it anchor you in peace, no matter the storm. This is not the end. This is the beginning of living attuned, aligned, free. If these words have met you in a place of truth, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel so that together we can continue to walk paths of remembrance, awakening, and inner freedom. Let this space be a sanctuary where your soul can return again and again to what it already knows. Until the next time we meet in words, may you walk with trust, with clarity, and with peace. The voice within is yours. It always has been, and it always will be.